Welcome back, guys, to the Horton Talk. And I want to talk to you about transition today. And I'm passionate about a lot of things, but I'm passionate about transition and our ability in the midst of transmitting from one point to another, being able to break through that, get from point A to point B, because in many cases we can have this whole tendency to want to quit halfway through something before we see the success that we want to see.
Yeah.
And I've got to tell you this morning that I want to come from a Bible story that I love and love reading the Bible, and it's a story in the book of Acts, chapter 3 and verse 2, about this beggar who was lame from birth.
Wow.
And for decades was carried to what they called this gate beautiful. And it was a gate outside a temple where at 3 o'clock every day people would be coming through to a time of prayer. And this beggar would be carried there and placed there so that he could beg for loose change for those that were walking into the hour of prayer. The awesome thing about this story is that this guy who's been lame from birth, and looking at his future, I often thought, how would this guy view his future? That he's been lame from birth, been placed at this gate beautiful for years. What does his future look like? Mm-hmm. And I think there's not much there at all.
No.
So within the story, this beggar's being carried by these other guys to this gate so that he can beg for that day and earn his keep so that he can feed himself. Now, he's in transition. He's being carried to this place.
Yeah.
And in the midst of this time, two other guys, Peter and John, are going to this time of prayer. They see him being carried. Even before he gets seated at the place where he starts begging, he turns to them and he asks them for change. And Peter and John turn around and say, well, I don't have any money, don't have any change, but what I can give you is a miracle. And he prays for them. And this guy walks.
Cool.
Now, you know, you can take that whatever way you want to take it, and whether you take it as true, false, or otherwise, doesn't matter. It's a story that's being told. You may have a story that you know very similar of something that occurs like that, but it happened in transition. A guy with very little future about his life and even success that he would think about is like met halfway, bang. He the story says that he leaps up and jumps for joy, sort of thing.
Good.
And one of the keys to that, though, one of the things I get out of the story is this point of transition, is that, okay, this guy had been lame for years, he jumps up and now he can walk, run, and his whole life has changed. His future looks completely different. But the key to it is that, well, what does he do now? The guy has only ever known from the day he was born to beg.
Right.
He's got legs that work now.
Yeah.
What's he going to do? And often within our lives, we can go from a place of A to point B, from a place of desiring success and a better future to jumping into it, and then we think, what are we going to do with it? I don't know what to do with this success.
Right.
And how to form a successful lifestyle from here on in, not for the short term, but for the long term.
Yeah, that's true. You know, when you use the word transition, I often think about childbirth. You know, and as you know, you and I have been through that 4 times. So in childbirth, the way it works is that you begin to enter into childbirth and you start labour, and it builds and builds and builds, and there's this sweet spot where you can get help. You can get all the pain relief and stuff that you want. And as you and I know, we've missed that a couple of times. But remember, I always remember the doctor saying, Tracy, we can't help you anymore with pain relief because you've hit transition, which means you've gotten into the end where you're going to birth something now. You've actually got through the pain and now something is going to birth. And I always remember this sneaky little look of excitement because for you it's nearly over. But don't you think that the point of transition is that you birth something? Something new.
Definitely.
Something new.
That is the purpose and the desire of going through transition.
That's right. I think for people, they get caught up in transition. And one of the points that you make in that story, which I really love because it's so true, is that what you're doing normally, you just keep doing, but look for the interruption.
That's it.
Because he
very key.
wasn't sitting down waiting for money. He was halfway there. So he was out of character to ask for money at that point.
Yeah, that's right.
So it's about that interruption that causes that new life, that new deviation for you.
And that is the complete key to transition, because the reality of our lives is that we're in some sort of transition all of the time.
Yeah.
We can be in
true.
transition, taking the kids to school in the morning and going about our very ordinary, normal days with dreams and desires in the back of our minds of what we're wanting to do, achieve and see. But those interruptions that come with any one given day where we might feel, I haven't got time to do that, I haven't got time to stop and say good day to that person, stop and get a coffee, whatever it is, because I'm in transition and I'm on the move and I've got a place to get to. But we can find that we can end up in a transition time for days, weeks, months and years because we're not allowing the extraordinary to break into our lives.
True.
And upset our ordinary everyday lives.
Yeah, true. I think, back to the only analogy I can think of, which is childbirth, is at that transition point, this surge of energy comes. It's like you know as a woman, it's time to birth, it's time to release this life. But you actually miss sometimes the strength and courage that it ignites at that point because you're so focused on getting this thing done. And I think for him, he could have so easily missed it because he was fixated on getting to the point where he'd earn money.
Right.
And who could blame him? The guy was lame from birth.
That's
not
right.
like you've said, not a great life, right? Not a choice. But the fact that he stopped and engaged and listened to that miracle, listened to that interruption that said, hang on, you can have something different. Forget the money, I can give you something better. You know what I mean? And I think for people, they don't realize that at that interruption, at that transition, there is a lot of strength and power with that. And you and I have talked as we're getting older and things are more established because we've done a lot right, it kind of gets almost a little boring at times because you love the chase of the transition, you love the growth, because it's a powerful point.
There's another story in the Bible about a healing pool.
Right.
And people were carried to that pool and laid there for the day, waiting for their turn so that when the priests came to stir the water, one person at a time could be put into the water and they would be healed.
Right.
There was a guy that was carried there for 38 years. 38 years he was carried to that pool every single day, except for Sunday, because you weren't allowed to be healed on the Sabbath.
Okay.
But you would come in, be sat down, water stirred, and again, this is all seen in transition.
Yeah.
And Jesus happens to be coming there on a Sabbath day when everybody's just laying around, no one's stirring the water. But what he does is he stirs it up, and he says to this guy, "Well, do you want to be healed?" And he turns around after 38 years and says, "Well, yeah, but there's no one here to carry me in, to place me in the water so that I can be healed." In our transition time, we need people that are going to interrupt us, ask us the very important questions of, do you really want this?
Yeah.
Do you really want to see this come through? And at that one point, it seems very simple. This guy could have said to Jesus, "Hey, you think? I've been here 38 years waiting."
Yeah.
And we can say that about our transition times within life, that, hey, do you think? that we want to see this success? Do you think that we want to achieve and accomplish these things? I've been doing this for years, but there's been no one there to help me process it. There's been no one there to help me just give me that leg up of encouragement just to step in.
Yeah.
And these transition times, like we've been saying, is you've got to stop and smell the roses to get the interruptions.
Yeah, that's true.
And we want to finish with this one with you today. It's saying, hey, even though you're going through the same things each day, but with passion and desires lying within your heart, stop and smell the roses. Allow people to speak into your life. Allow that time where it breaks into your ordinary everyday life with something that could be an opportunity, an extraordinary, that sends you off on a path to reach your success.
That's right. Transition is a great place to be because it guarantees you something new and exciting is coming.
So look for that new thing.
Yeah. See you guys.
Thanks a lot.